So, what we know about Ayurveda is that the first text that we have was written down about 5,000 years ago. I like to think that prior to that, it was probably an oral tradition. So, I like to think that Ayurveda has been around as long as humanity has been around. And there's some wonderful stories in Ayurveda that are told around the history of how Ayurveda was brought down from the heavens, through the gods, through the demigods, through sages, to the common man. From what we know, about 5,000 years of practice that is documented. And this all started in South Asia, in what's now India, but also Sri Lanka and Pakistan, which were all one country at one point. Ayurveda has been practiced in many different households and families and through different lineages. So there are different ways of practicing it, but it was part of a larger system of knowledge called the Vedas, which also gives us yoga, which also gives us Jyotish, which is astrology, or Vastu, which is architecture, many different forms of arts, martial arts, sciences, math. So it was part of a large culture that imbued many different ways of living. And Ayurveda was a medical practice that was used. And when the Buddha was alive during his lifetime, Ayurveda was actually taught and practiced at Buddhist monasteries throughout Asia. So everywhere that there was a Buddhist monastery, Ayurveda was also taught there. So we can see how Ayurveda has benefited other medicinal systems like Tibetan medicine, Chinese medicine, Siddha medicine. They're very closely related through the traveling of the Buddha and his teachings and taking Ayurveda with him. He actually traveled with an Ayurvedic doctor who is said to be one of the world's most renowned Ayurvedic doctors in history. And it has continued on in South Asia. During British colonial rule, which is about 200 years, Ayurveda was outlawed largely. So there has been a bit of a pushing away of Ayurveda. The British colonial rule left India in 1947. And so since then, for the past 75 years, we've had a revival and a resurgence of this practice, which is now coming to life in a new form. I like to think of Ayurveda as a living and breathing body, living and breathing system of medicine that is constantly changing and evolving. Now there's tons of herbs and scientific trials. It's practiced in hospitals. You can even have Ayurvedic surgery done in South Asia. And it's interesting because that first textbook that was written down 5,000 years ago was actually a surgical textbook. So we know that there's a long and robust history that we are uncovering and rediscovering and making our own now in the modern world. I mean, I think Ayurveda can be a wonderful complement, and I think that Western medicine has amazing diagnostic tools. And if we could bridge Western diagnostic tools with Ayurvedic therapies, I think it would be so powerful. And there's a really big push for integration that I think would be amazing. And I really hope that Ayurveda is valued as a medical system that has been practiced for thousands of years and is time tested. And I think there's a potential for a lot of synergy there. And it makes it challenging because the licensure of Ayurveda is something that has not happened in the United States yet. We are technically an unlicensed medical practice, and it's challenging to license Ayurveda because the scope of practice is so large and the way that we practice is so individualized that it's difficult to kind of fit it into an allopathic way of practicing. You know, there's a lot of things that come in with that, with insurance and things, but I'll leave that for another time.